My name is Patty Thompson, and I'm the Vice President for Grants and Scholarships at HESC. And I'm here to welcome you this morning and to say thank you again for joining us. I know everyone's time is precious, and we have a really great program for you today. What we're going to focus on is the different financial aid pathways, meaning all of the different ways that your students can apply for state programs based on the category or population that they currently exist in. So today, Natasha and Jeffrey are going to take you through these different pathways so that when you're working with your students, you will know how to advise them, what direction you want them to take with the application process that is accurate for them based on their individual situation. Certainly very important to us. And we know that you play such a crucial role in helping students find the best path for themselves. With your help, we will all get this done. We'll get students down the right pathway, down the right track to get the financial aid that they need to pursue their higher education career. So we're all on the same page with that. And I'm so happy that you've joined us today and that you'll have the opportunity to hear this information from Natasha Therese as well as Jeffrey Joseph, both representatives from the Higher Ed Services Corporation that we work with. And we're so happy that so many of you have been partners as we've developed all of these different pathways over the past years and months and weeks. So many of you have helped us to craft where we are today. And I think Natasha is a great person to kick it off. She's a wonderful representative of our grants and scholarships area. Natasha, for those of you who don't know, serves as our Dream Act coordinator and also works on other special population projects in addition to doing outreach for all of our programs. So I can't think of anyone better to kick off today's webinar. And so I'm going to turn it over to Natasha. And thank you so much. I think she's also going to probably tell you any housekeeping information that you need regarding today's event. But please enjoy the process, and thank you again. Natasha.
Thank you so much, Patty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're here today to review the different financial aid pathways, including our new alternate pathway, which we will get into in a moment. Just quick housekeeping, we are recording this presentation today, and it will be posted to our web page. So we can share that link with you all after the presentation is over. Additionally, for any questions, we please ask that you put them in the question and answer box. My partners and I are going to be tracking that box. We can try and answer some questions in real time. We will also answer questions at the end of the presentation. It's easy to answer them if they're all in one place in that Q&A box. Finally, any questions we will add to our frequently asked questions page, which we will also share all of those great links with you throughout the presentation. Okay, everyone, I'll just get right into it because I know we're all really busy. Okay, so our agenda for today, what are we here to do? So today we're going to review the 3 different pathways for financial aid. We will review the Dream Act pathway and our new alternate pathway. So Higher Education Services, or has launched their new application pathway for students who are U.S. citizens or FAFSA eligible non-citizens do not want to complete a FAFSA due to concerns related to the privacy of their information. We will review eligibility requirements and other concerns and other program details in this presentation. We want to emphasize that this application is for students from mixed status families, this new alternate pathway. And this population can still apply to the FAFSA pathway if they choose. So we're going to look at all 3 pathways today and hopefully answer your questions about how students should apply, what students are eligible for, and any other concerns or questions that you may have. Okay, so let's get started. So again, briefly, here's an overview of our 3 pathways to financial aid. We have the FAFSA TAP pathway, which is for students who are U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens, such as permanent residents, who are also New York State residents. That's really important. You have to be a New York State resident to apply to the FAFSA TAP pathway. Next, students can apply for that, by the way, through our website, hesc.ny.gov. Our next pathway is the Dream Act pathway, and this is for students who are not eligible for that FAFSA TAP pathway, either because they don't meet the citizenship requirements or the New York State residency requirements. We'll get into more details later on. Just a quick tip, students can find the link to apply at our webpage, hesc.ny.gov/dream. And when they click apply today, it's going to take them to an external website. That's their Dream Act portal. The link to that is nysdream.applyisps.net. If you've ever helped a student with a Dream Act application, if you ever click that apply today button, you're familiar with that webpage that it brings you to. Now, finally, last but not least, our new alternate pathway. So this was created for students from mixed status families who are eligible for that FAFSA TAP pathway, but don't want to submit a FAFSA due to privacy concerns about information about one or more of their FAFSA contributors, such as a parent or spouse. Now, students can find a link to apply to this new pathway at our webpage, hesc.ny.gov/altpath, ALTPATH, or you'll see it. You can click Mixed Status Families. There's lots of ways to access it through our website. Now, when students click Apply Today on the webpage, it's going to take you to that same external webpage that the DREAM Act takes you to. So the DREAM Act and this new alt pathway are hosted on the same website. So this is really important to note. So since the DREAM Act pathway and the DREAM Act applications are hosted on the same webpage, we've added a new feature, which is new to the DREAM Act. So when students go to this webpage to apply for the DREAM Act or for the alternate pathway, they're going to follow the same steps of logging in and creating an account. But we've added a new feature. It's called a pathway determination tool, and that's going to make sure students either apply for one or the other. And we'll look into that path determination tool and how it affects students later on in the presentation. One last tip here, that all 3 application pathways are currently open for the 24-25 year and the upcoming 25-26 year. Okay, so now let's get into each pathway in further detail. So the FAFSA TAP pathway is again for U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens who are also New York State residents. Students apply through our website. Important note that students must complete the FAFSA application before submitting their TAP application. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this process already. This is a very important pathway for eligible students to consider utilizing. This pathway offers students the best opportunity to maximize their potential financial aid. Students must use the FAFSA TAP pathway if they want to be eligible for federal aid such as the Pell Grant, work study, or other opportunities. Finally, if students have submitted a FAFSA application in the past, they should really consider applying through the FAFSA TAP pathway again. Like if they're a mixed status family student, for example, they should consider continuing to apply through the FAFSA TAP pathway since their information is already in the FAFSA database, because that may qualify them for more aid and their information is already stored there. We will look into how students can make this decision again later on in the presentation when we get to more information about our new pathway for these students. Okay, now let's review the DREAM Act. So what is the New York State DREAM Act? The New York State DREAM Act gives undocumented and other students access to New York State administered financial aid to support their higher education costs. Very important, students who are approved for the DREAM Act must continue to submit their financial aid applications through their DREAM Act account. The DREAM Act is not a financial aid application. This is step 1, so they're approved for it. Step 2, they must continue to submit their financial aid applications such as their TAP, etc. So who's eligible for the DREAM Act? The eligibility has not changed. Now that we've opened this new alternate eligibility pathway, the DREAM Act is completely the same except for our new path determination tool, which we'll review in a moment. The eligibility, the same. So just a quick overview for everyone of immigration. There's 3 criteria students must meet to be eligible for the DREAM Act. So first criteria is the immigration status. They must meet one of the following. They must have a U visa or a T visa. They must have temporary protected status, which is also known as TPS. They can be without lawful immigration status, including DACA. Or they can be of current lawful status. They can be a citizen, permanent resident, or paroled refugee if their parents live outside of New York State or the country. So that's one of the immigration criteria they must meet. If they meet that, they can move on to number 2, their education background. That must be one of the following to, again, qualify for a DREAM Act. You have to have attended a New York State high school for 2 or more years and graduated from New York State high school. Now, that's 2 academic years. They don't have to be consecutive, but you do have to have 2 academic years in New York State high school and graduate. If you don't have that, you can also receive a high school equivalency diploma from New York State. You only have to be in New York State for 30 days to be eligible to take that exam. That's another great option. Finally, if you don't like either of those two, you can be charged in-state tuition at a SUNY or CUNY for a reason other than residency. And then if you meet both of those, you're on the right track to the DREAM Act. Finally, the application time limit. There is a time limit for students. So students must apply for the DREAM Act within 5 years of graduating from high school, from their New York State high school, or receiving their high school equivalency diploma if they're pursuing an undergraduate degree. Or that's 10-year expansion if they're pursuing a graduate degree. They have 10 years to apply then. So that's really important to note. And we understand there's some special circumstances sometimes that come up for this population. So if there's ever any issue, please reach out to us and we will help the students determine their eligibility or work through any issues they have. Okay, so DREAM Act application steps. So here's just a quick overview of how to apply for the DREAM Act. Mostly the same. You go to hess.ny.gov/dream, click apply today. Students create that account on an external website. They're going to click add new application as usual. This is a new step, everyone. So here, they have to complete the path determination step. The path determination step is very, very simple. We've added the step to ensure students are routed to the correct application. They're going to be routed to either the DREAM Act or the alternate pathway based on their answer to this. The path determination is a quick and easy tool, which we will review in the next slide. So this is the only new step. So after the path determination is complete, they'll be sent to the DREAM Act. It's automatic. There's no processing time. They just click their answer and it's sent to the DREAM Act or to the new alternate pathway. And from there, students do the process all the same. They complete their DREAM Act eligibility application. If that's approved, then they have to submit their TAP, and Excel through any other applications, all through that DREAM Act account portal. Really important to note, students submit all applications through that one account. Always encourage your students to check their emails. We do email students frequently if they're missing anything. For example, sometimes they think their application's complete, but they did not upload a required document. We email them frequently. We send out automated emails to make sure students are aware of any issues. So just encourage students to check that email account and make sure that their applications are good to go. Okay, here's our new step, our path determination tool. So here's a preview of the tool, which you put a few screenshots on the screen. So when students click add new application, this is what they see. It says which selection best describes your situation. And you see there are 3 options. I'm eligible to apply for New York State financial aid under the Jose Peralta DREAM Act. Or I am a New York State resident and can apply for FAFSA, but have opted out due to privacy concerns for family members. It's cut off, but that's what it says. Or I am a New York State resident and am willing to complete the FAFSA using my family member's information. So students, this page offers students these 3 selections to choose from. Students will be prompted to confirm their selection before moving forward. That's this other photo here. So after, let's say a student chooses the first one, I am eligible for the DREAM Act. It's going to give students context about what they're selecting. We understand students may not know which selection is best for them, which is why we added this confirmation step. The confirmation step not only gives students context, it also gives students a direct link to our webpage. So in this case, it sends them to the DREAM Act page to review the eligibility to make sure they're selecting the right page. The next one, that I'm a New York State resident and can apply for FAFSA but have opted out. It has the same message there, except it's about mixed status families, and it gives them a link to our new alternate eligibility pathway page to, again, make sure students are making an informed decision. So students will review each option. We also have a path determination resource, a downloadable PDF we made, which explains all of this in greater detail. So if any students are confused about which selection, they can look at this PDF we created to help them, again, make sure they're going down the right path. So we can share that with you, and we'll share that in the link momentarily. I do also want to let everyone know, if they choose the last option, I'm a New York State resident and I'm willing to complete the FAFSA, students will not be able to move forward. It tells students it gives them a link and tells them to go apply for the FAFSA TAP pathway. So we do have that in mind. If any students have any issues with this, if they choose the wrong pathway, if they need to change their pathway, they can just email us at nysdream@applyisps.com. That's the same email that DREAM Act has always used. I'll say it again, nysdream@applyisps.com. For any past determination issues, they can email us and we will help them reset it and then go again. I'm sure there's going to be questions about this, so please, again, put any questions into the question and answer box and we'll review them at the end, okay? So let's say students did the past determination, they went to the DREAM Act. This is just an overview of what the DREAM Act students are eligible to apply for. They are eligible for CAP, STEM, Excelsior, ETA, and other scholarships. They're eligible for many scholarships, the DREAM Act students. And that's all going to be through their DREAM Act portal again. Okay, really important page. Where can students find help with these applications? Our number one suggestion is always to email nysdream@applyisps.com. We have been monitoring response times in the past few months, and responses are being sent within 1 to 2 business days recently. So these response times are great. If they're not getting a response for some reason, please reach out to us at HESC and we will help you as best as we can. But we have been checking those response times and they have improved drastically. 1 to 2 days, the students' issues are typically resolved now. Additionally, students can also use their chat box in the bottom corner of their DREAM Act account. There's a green chat box. They can use that. They can also use the hotline. The hotline does have different business hours. It's, so that's not the best option because sometimes students are calling outside of the business hours, but they can, of course, call if they choose. Finally, we have been hosting a monthly DREAM Act support session. This is now going to be a DREAM Act and alternate application support session. So those are hosted via Zoom. There's no registration necessary. They can just click anytime between 5 p.m. to 7:30. And me or another representative will help them one-on-one in a private breakout room with any questions they have. This is a great opportunity for students to be able to talk freely in a private setting about their application issues. We host those monthly. Okay, so now let's review the alternate eligibility pathway or new application. So what is the alternate eligibility pathway? So this alternate pathway is for FAFSA TAP eligible students from mixed status families who do not want to submit the FAFSA application due to privacy concerns related to their FAFSA contributors. That can be a parent, a sub-parent, a spouse, or anyone else who would contribute to their FAFSA application. Similar to the DREAM Act, this application is a pathway to New York State financial aid. This is not a financial aid application. Students will apply for this program, be approved, and then must submit their TAP application through that same account portal. Okay, so let's get into it a little more. Let's review why students would want to apply via the alternate pathway. So this pathway includes privacy protections for students and families and allows students from New York to access New York State aid without submitting the FAFSA application. So this application was designed to protect student privacy. Examples of these protections include we don't collect their addresses for these students. We only ask them for the city, state, and postal code that they live in. This was intentional. We limit data collection about contributors and other questions that we would typically ask. And we also delete application data for the population as appropriate. So we're not going to delete their TAP application, but we will delete this alternate pathway application. We will delete most of that information, so it's not getting stored. We only store what's absolutely necessary for this population. So we are taking into account the sensitive nature, the sensitive concerns that these students may have. Okay, there are also things to consider when applying for this new pathway. So again, these students are not eligible for federal aid. So that's including but not limited to the Pell Grant, work study, and more. Students will not be able to receive those grants, which may be a major factor in them attending university or higher education. Students may also not be eligible for institutional aid if that institutional aid requires a FAFSA application. So we really encourage you all when talking with students to ask them about any programs or scholarships they're receiving through the university. Ask them what the requirements are for that. Are they last dollar scholarships that require FAFSA applications? These are conversations that students may not be able to recognize or considerations for them. And that's why we're here to support them, of course, and let them know this may impact you in this way. Additionally, students should talk to their families or counselors about this. And finally, last but not least, these students who are applying through the alternate pathway are not going to be eligible for the Excelsior nor ETA scholarship. So these students are excluded from these programs due to the education law. The education law requires students who are FAFSA eligible to submit the FAFSA to receive Excelsior or ETA since they are last dollar scholarships. So unfortunately, that is another major consideration that students should be aware of when they're applying for this. If they understand all of these considerations and still think that's the best pathway for them and their family, then they should apply, and we just want to make sure students are well informed. Okay, so alternate pathway application steps. So we're just going to review how to apply. It's the same steps as the DREAM Act, so we're hoping that familiarity will help. So students visit hesc.ny.gov/alt-path. They click apply today. They create their account. That's just with an email, a password, and their date of birth. They click add new application. They are going to have to do that path determination tool I mentioned to you, where they're going to click I am eligible for FAFSA, but choose not to submit it due to privacy concerns from my family members. Once they complete that, they're going to be automatically routed to the alternate pathway application. They submit that. It's similar questions to the DREAM Act. I mean, of course, it's different, but it's similar to the way it's designed, where you have to apply for eligibility. And then once it's approved, then they would apply for their TAP application. And they can apply for STEM or any other programs that are available through this. Finally, students, again, should check their email same way as the DREAM Act. They should check their email to make sure everything is submitted and that there's no issues with their application. So here's a bigger picture overview of who is eligible for which programs through the DREAM Act and through the alternate eligibility pathway. So firstly, we have TAP, both alternate eligibility pathway students and DREAM Act students can receive TAP. They can both receive STEM, and they can both receive Memorial Scholarship. DREAM Act students are eligible for Excelsior and ETA as well. Alternate pathway students are not eligible for Excelsior ETA once again due to the education law. So now, where can students find help regarding their alternate pathway application? It is the same exact place as the DREAM Act students. So they can email nysdream@applyisps.com. Again, response times are now taking 1 to 2 days. Sometimes it's within an hour I'm seeing responses. They can also they have the same chat box access in the bottom corner of their application portal. They can again use the hotline. Again, business hours are a little bit different than I think our business hours. I think it's a different time zone, but students may use it. Or again, students can join our monthly support session. Our next one coming up is June, I think 2nd. Let me check quickly. Yep, June 2nd, Monday, June 2nd. We have all of our upcoming events, which we'll discuss later on in this presentation, but we have those monthly. Students can come and join for one-on-one support, any questions they have about these applications. Okay, and now we're going to get into available resources. And I'm going to kick it over to my amazing colleague, Jeffrey Joseph. He is our training manager at HESC, and he has a lot to tell you about the resources we've developed for not just this population, but for all our programs.
All right, thank you, Natasha. So first of all, I may know some of you, not all of you. My name is Jeff. I've been here for a little while now, working on something really special for you guys, and I'm getting a lot of questions in the question and answer panel, which is great. And this is hopefully going to help you guys. We have been developing this FAFSA Ready training program for over a year now. We launched it late 2024, early 25, and this has been available since then. This is something that we have really worked to help you with. A lot of the questions that you're asking in the Q&A panel are things that we have been training or trained in the FAFSA Ready training program, right? So what is the FAFSA Ready training program? It is a way to help students. Go ahead, Tasha, for one time. So this is on our site. Currently on our site right now, we have the FAFSA Ready training program. It's been available for a while. Under the High School Counselors tab, you can find it there, our academic partners, high school counselors, and hit FAFSA Ready training. I'm actually going to show you the full site right now. If I can here, I'm share my screen. at this point, hopefully I can see what I'm showing you here. Yep, there it is. So this is our site. This is it right here, Fast Ready Training. This was designed with you in mind, right? We really tried to focus on the accessibility that you guys need with having your questions answered in real time with your students. We also realize you have a various amounts of population and schedules. So we try to design this where at any moment in time, you can come in here and get either live training or view the recorded trainings that we already have established. This year, especially, there has been a lot of change. So as things change or have changed, we are now introducing new modules. As you see here, as you'll see as we scroll down, there's a new module that we just started, the alternate pathways to financial aid module. Now, in real time, we adjust these, we create these, we create resources to really speak to what's happening in your schools and in financial aid in the moment. This is on-demand access. So it's not open like only from 8 to 4. Like this is your go-to place. If you have a question, check here first to see if it's already been asked, if we already answered it in the FAQs. If you need resources, we have some available here. So I'm going to go through just our alternate eligibility application pathways module just so you can see a little bit more about what FAFSA already has to offer. Once again, a lot of questions we're getting here are great questions, and some of them already have been answered here as well. So when you go into each module, right, each module has all 4 of the same components. They have seminars, they have resources, they have FAQs, and we're continuing to develop videos that would help students walk through things. So as you see here, you come here with our seminar. Natasha and I have pre-recorded a seminar that is available right now, all right, because the pathway is open right now. I think I had a question. I think I wanted to answer it live. Can students apply for these pathways now? Yes. In fact, for 24-25, they can apply. If they're still waiting for that, they can also apply for 25-26 right now. DREAM Act and the alternate pathway are both eligibility applications, not financial aid applications. So those applications are actually available all year round, right? So although our financial aid applications have opening dates and closing dates, those eligibility applications are open all year round. So students can always access it. Another big thing I want to hit, because there was a question on this in the Q&A, I want to answer it live. I was asked a question about transcripts, high school transcripts, right? And this is going to be in the updated seminar. So if you have people that are having the same questions, have them come to our next seminar. I'll tell you in a little bit. Transcripts used to have the graduation date on it, right? That was the mode. And we recognize that there are some students that have to now wait until June, May, even July sometimes to get that transcript to actually go through and get approved and then apply for financial aid. And we realize that create a barrier. So now our new process is students can send in a transcript with the anticipated graduation date typed onto it, right? So it cannot be handwritten, right? So as the office is printing that, they must actually insert and type the graduation date, the anticipated graduation date. That will allow students to come through, send that documentation in, and be approved for that program earlier, and then apply for financial aid. All right. So I want to hit that. We'll answer some more questions as we end our time here. So we'll say in the seminars here, you can also see the download presentation. So whatever presentation we use for that seminar will be available with all the links there. You can download it yourself and have it on hand as a PDF document. Okay, all links are working on that presentation. On top of that, we have resources. Now, this is something where I use this all the time. As most of you guys know, we do drop-ins frequently. Natasha does drop-ins. Our outreach team does drop-ins on Wednesdays. And when I was working those, I would frequently go to the site and download these resources. So if you have students that come to your office frequently and have a lot of same questions, this is a way to help walk them through that without actually being there. I'll open one up for you. So for instance, the alternate pathway eligibility guide is a resource that's here. When you click that, it opens up a PDF. Now, this PDF you can have on hand on your desk. You can email it as a link to students, and it has a step-by-step guide to how to fill out this eligibility application. So then at the tab application, the eligibility application. All right, all the steps are there, links are there, contact information is there. All this is available, and if you need help, there's some links to accessing portals, to where to find the next support session that Natasha runs. This is all on this document, right? So each document has those things. There's one for DREAM Act. And in View All Resources, you'll see that there's DREAM Act resources here. as well as alternate path resources here available. So going back, so just like we have alternate pathway, we have that for TAP. There's another module devoted specifically for TAP. There's a module devoted specifically for special circumstances. We understand that there's a lot of special circumstances in New York State, and we try to help quantify what FAFSA can do and what us in New York State can do to help students that have special circumstances. We also have some FAFSA guidance, and another one we get it often, especially now with the new completion mandate that has now been put down by SED, FAFSA completion initiative. We still getting questions about how do I know if I've joined? We have a module, we have FAQs for that as well. So please, if you have those questions, go ahead and look at that as well. Continue here on the module. These are some video resources that we have. We're currently updating this DreamAct walkthrough. We've had that on our previous TAP module, but now that we updated to reflect the new path determination questions, that should be out today. And then coming soon, meaning like mid to late next week, we'll have one specially devoted to the alternate eligibility application. So these two videos, if you have a student that, hey, I'm in the DreamAct eligibility application, I have no idea why I'm stuck, what's happening, you can send them this video and it'll walk them through. We have parents asking, what is the application? Can you walk me through it? You may not have the time to do so right then and there. You can send them this YouTube video link that will help walk them through that application step by step. And then FAQ, what you guys all been waiting for. These FAQs are expansive right now. So right now we have FAQs for the alternate path and for the DreamAct. And even right now, as you guys are typing these questions, we are taking these questions. We'll answer most of them today. Those that we can't answer, and the same thing goes when you come to our seminars, we will take these FAQs, we'll find the answers if we don't have them right away, and then we'll place them in the FAQ section later on so that you guys can come back and check on it and see what those answers are. All right, so we'll just open the alternate path FAQs. They are in categories, so you see general information, available financial aid programs. Like there was a question in here, I think it said something around the lines of, what if they change their mind? Well, we've thought about that, right? What if a student changes their mind and now wants to fill out FAFSA? We have a question. The student can do so, and the FAQs here will tell you exactly some more information about how they can go about completing the FAFSA. If they haven't submitted a TAP application through the alternate path yet, they can go on and do a FAFSA and TAP. If they've already submitted their TAP application, they're going to have to contact us and contact Natasha to help walk them through that process of removing that application and then going to the FAFSA. So we haven't thought of all the questions. I'm sure in this Q&A panel, there are way more that we'll get to, but we will continue to, this is a working document. So as we get more questions, as we have to vet more answers, as you guys bring more things to the table, we try to update this FAQ section to reflect what's happened in the questions that we've gotten. So that is FAFSA Ready training in a nutshell. We have, once again, really tried to make it accessible to you guys to have any information that you guys need. We have a lot of questions about like return transcripts and parent signature pages. We have documents on how to answer that parent signature page. Where do I get that from? What if I need a return transcript? We have documents that help students navigate the process of getting a return transcript from New York State or from the IRS. So these documents are here for you guys. Print as many as you want. Email what you want to students because it is helpful for you and it's helpful for them as well as they navigate the financial aid process. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for a second. Boom. All right. And then let's open it up to any questions you guys may have. I know there's a lot in the Q&A, so I think we should start there and kind of go through some of this and see what comes of it here. Let's see here. So there's one question here about students who get stuck in the second part, right? They've been stuck in the second part for a while and they've contacted. When we're looking at income verification, if they're waiting for income verification, that is one of those things where we will need to get that return transcript. So if you go to FRT, the FAFSA Ready training page, the process of obtaining return transcript is there. And then you can send that in. And then when they process that, that will verify the income for that student and move them forward through the process. So that is something that does happen. with certain populations, we have to verify income. Even if there's students that don't have income or their parents never filed, we still need to verify that they didn't file if there was any wages for those students. So yes, that is still a piece of the puzzle there.
And I'd like to add to that, and I know this question is probably referring to a DREAM Act student. We know a lot of DREAM Act students' applications have not been processed because of this income verification hold that's been going on. And I want everyone to know that we are aware of this and we are working on it. We're almost so close to getting them done, and I promise you they will all be processed. Any overpayments that were made by students will be refunded by anything that's covered by the scholarship. We will be sending all the awards on roster, and we just really thank you all for your patience, but we will have that process soon, and we are aware that there are some applications on hold.
Thank you, Sasha. So another great question here. If a prior year Excelsior recipient, right, now wants to do the alternate pathway with their 25, 26 Excelsior be denied? And the answer is, okay, Tasha, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I would. That's because I just want to let everyone know that they're not going to be even eligible to apply for Excelsior anymore through the alternate pathway. So in the DREAM Act, when students are applying for DREAM Act, they can apply for TAP, Excelsior, all of those applications are open for them. And the application is not even open for the alternate pathway students. So there's no way for them to apply because they're not eligible. If there's some type of error where the application rolls over from the year prior, we would expect the financial aid officers to not certify the award because you do need FAFSA. But that is something that we can definitely make sure we look into and make sure that nothing happens. But yeah, they would not be eligible. They shouldn't be having even a chance to apply, and they should not move forward.
In addition to that, we do recognize that there's a large population of students that get Excelsior that may be considering this pathway, and they make it down the road and say, well, you know what? I really don't have the funds. I kind of need Excelsior. If a student, even if for 25, 26, doesn't do Excelsior, and then they decide 26, 27, hey, I kind of want to get back into that program, as long as they still completed the requirements, right? So those 30 credits per year requirement, that student will still be able to go back the following year and apply for Excelsior if they go through the FAFSA TAP pathway, right? So there is the opportunity for those students to still get Excelsior as long as they are still within that compliance piece of they still do that 30 credits even without the Excelsior program. So that's a great question.
Great note, Jeff. Those students still qualify for programs like EOP with alternative pathway. Just like how in DREAM Act, we ask students in their TAP application if they are a candidate for those type of programs, we will ask them the same question in the TAP application of the alternate pathway. So they still have a chance to disclose if they're a candidate for that.
So another question here, as far as the time frame for students to know if the application has been processed for the DREAM Act. So the DREAM Act is not a scholarship. So I do want to mention that, like the DREAM Act is a pathway to apply for grants and scholarships. So typical process to time is usually about 2 weeks, if I'm correct, Natasha. Unless there are some things that the student is missing, right? So we do send emails out every 14 days to say, hey, you're missing a document. Hey, you're missing this. Hey, you should be an IVP, or we need this document. So students should be looking for their emails from us or Dream to say, hey, you're missing some documentation. But typically, once they get all the documentation in, it does take, I think typically around 2 weeks, right, Natasha?
Yes, and if it is taking long and you're not sure why, please email us at nysdream@applyisds.com. Students also come to the DREAM Act support session quite often and ask me what's missing, and then I just open their application live with them. It says it right there, you're missing XYZ. They submit it, and the next day it's processed. So just email us, and we can make sure that any delays are taken care of, and we can make sure that if there is a delay for some reason, we push it forward.
I'm just kind of going through to see what's going on. So our question about mentioning the importance of the FAFSA completion initiative. That's a great. And my man James, thank you, sir. So FAFSA completion initiative is a way to help you as counselors understand where your students are in the financial aid process, right? It gives really concrete data about what applications students have applied for, when they've applied, when they've processed, and if there's things missing, right? So it will tell you either it's processed and there's an award amount, it's been submitted and there's errors or not submitted at all, right? So you really kind of see where your student is, especially now with the new mandate. It is really helpful to kind of gauge where your students are in the process. And if your school is participating in that, you should have login information. If you're unaware of where your school is in the process, if you're unaware if your school has the right personnel to access the data, you can just email FAFSA Completion Initiative at hesc.ny.gov, and that team will tell you if your CAO is there, who it is, and then be able to provide documentation to see if your school is still in the program and verify the next CAO so that they can get other people online. But it's a great tool for you to know who actually needs help and who doesn't. Sometimes that's one of the things that students don't realize is they don't know who needs help. And we're here to help too. So I always say this all the time. We don't expect you guys to carry this load on your own. We have completion events, we have support sessions, we have drop-in events. If you don't know how to help students, use those avenues, use our completion events. I know some of you even help out on those events, right? Some of you are present on those events to help students as well. Some of you FAPs. So we don't expect high school counselors to do this on their own. We want to provide support to you as you help students through this process.
Yes. I see another question. So if a student is a FAFSA pathway, can they just go straight to the FAFSA website, or do they have to go use the path determination tool first? They can 100% go straight to the FAFSA application. They should go that. That's the easiest, best route for them. We only included that option in the path determination to make sure that no students accidentally apply for the alternate pathway and not know they're doing that. We don't want students to miss out on their federal aid or chances to apply for Excelsior ETA because they accidentally went down the wrong pathway.
Good. So there's one between. I'm gonna skip that one. I'm gonna have to look that up. But this one right here, I see. Oh, man, just moved it. Sorry. So there's some students that may have filled out a TAP application, and then when they get there, it's like, oh wait, where to go? We have found that this year especially, I don't know what it was. A lot of students that applied for TAP actually only apply for like a scholarship application, not an actual TAP application. That's something we're fine with students. They've gone through, they put their information in, but they actually didn't click the button about applying for TAP. It's like a scholarship application only. So we've been helping some of those students on the call center side. Those students can simply just log back in, hit the TAP application, and it'll say like, do you want to apply for TAP as well? You click that button and it brings that information in as well. So that is a common mistake that we've seen this year with students. Let's see what else is here.
For this one, someone asked if students who are stuck for income verification for Dreamers need to fill out a form. No, not necessarily. We have began sending out emails to students who are stuck for income verification, and we're going to give students specific instructions about how they can resolve this issue and what they need to change in their application. For example, sometimes we're finding students who are stuck on income verification maybe typed in their parent's social security number wrong. Maybe they typed two last names instead of one last name, and the tax return has different last name. So we're going to send out students instructions to the email listed on their Dream Act account portal to let them know how to resolve that issue. And if students haven't received an email yet, they will be receiving them in the next upcoming week or so. We have began this process, but no, there's no form. We will give students specific instructions based on their income verification issue they're having.
So there was a question on here about a FAFSA waiver. I'm assuming that's for the SED FAFSA waiver. So that's not us. Based on the SED's FAQs that I saw earlier this year, those waivers that if you're saying, the student doesn't need it, or they sign that waiver, that should be housed at the school, however you guys decide to do that. But SED has a FAQ section on their site specifically for that FAFSA mandate that might answer that question a little better for you. So another question about FAFSA completion. Once again, if you have a question about FAFSA completion, please visit our FRT site, our FAFSA Ready training site that has some information on there as well. As well as a link to the SED's FAQ section that has more information. But FAFSA completion is by high school, right? And then the colleges are not doing FAFSA completion initiative. That's a specifically high school thing that New York State Education Department is running. Let's see what other question we have on here.
Yeah, there's so many. I don't know which one to choose.
Yeah. So the question here: so Dream student can get tapped in Excelsior without an FAFSA, but an all pass student can only get tapped because ed law says they cannot get Excelsior because there's no FAFSA on file, right?
So,
So
yeah.
the way that the statute is written is students who are eligible for FAFSA must apply for FAFSA to be eligible for Excelsior, the way the law is written. So that's why it's like that. So Dream Act students are not eligible for FAFSA, therefore they don't have to fill out the FAFSA to get Excelsior. But the students for this alt path population, they are eligible for FAFSA but deciding not to. So that's the distinction there.
Answer this question. It says, what
Yep.
option will a student select who is a New York State resident, graduates from New York State high school, the parents are out of the country or not New York State residents? So if the student is a dependent, and then technically their address is out of the state or out of the country because of their parents' address, then they can apply through the DREAM Act. There is an option for students who are New York State residents and who graduate from high school. If the student is independent, if they're not using their parents' address and they are FAFSA eligible, they can just go to the FAFSA TAP pathway and use their New York State address. Just depends if they're independent or dependent.
So I'm getting a couple questions. There's like 3 or 4 about information. And so just so you guys are aware, the reason why, I'm not going to give too much detail here, um, but the reality is we are taking steps to make sure that that information is private, right? So the way that we do it, we make sure that information is safe, and then when it's no longer needed for some of that information that is discarded, right? So everything we do for these alternate pathway students is in the vein and thought process and goal of keeping that information safe, to the point where you'll see in some of our seminars we talk about all the ways that we actually keep that information safe, or not even take some information in an effort to make sure that we keeping them private. So I won't go into too much detail here on that, but understand that we are only keeping information that is necessary for financial aid application processing, and then we purge other information that we don't need from the server or from where they're stored. Let's see.
For the question about SUNY Reconnect, I'm not familiar with that program. I'm sorry. If FAFSA is required for it, then alternate pathway students would probably not be eligible. If FAFSA is not a requirement, then I don't see why there'd be an issue. But again, I'm not familiar with it, but I'm happy to talk with SUNY about that program and figure it out. So that's something we can answer frequently asked questions once we get that information. We'll connect with them.
Excellent. So I'm getting a couple more questions about like IVP and income verification, and so I'm kind of giving an all-encompassing answer to that, right? This is one of those things where, like, if you're in FAFSA completion initiative and you're getting information, there's an error, like that you may not be able to answer those. You may want to send them to us, right? So any student that has been trying to verify income, or we've been trying to verify income, there's a lot of different reasons why, whether it's a name mismatch, an extra space in the application. There's a lot of different reasons why IVP may not connect for a student. In an effort to, if they want to verify income, please go to the FRT site, get the return transcript information. We also have a document on how to upload a document to our site. So there's a one for that as well. Especially those students that are in the FAFSA TAP pathway, give them that information and they can send us income transcripts. I think the same thing for Dream. They can send it over for you. Where they send that to for you guys, Natasha?
No, I'm sorry. I think that's where the confusion is happening. For
Okay.
students who are on hold for DREAM Act because of the income verification, we have no way of verifying their income manually until we fix their application with the student, which is why we're having the email sent to students to resolve this issue
Okay.
one-on-one. If a student has already been, if their award has already been accepted and they are on HISC web, there's a small population of students whose fall awards for 2024 were sent to colleges, but their spring 2025 is on hold and that has not been sent. For that particular population, they can send us their income transcripts and we can verify them because they're already on our system. For the students who are just pending and never got their fall award in general, they have to wait and resolve their application to try and identify where the income verification issue is stemming from. So unfortunately.
A question about school code changes. Something I think we're aware of. School code changes are still handled through, for this pathway through that, uh, Dream NYS Dream dot at applyICS.com, right? So they'll send the information to that student, and then or the student will send the information to them, and then they'll update the college code on the application for the student.
Correct. And I see this was already answered. Someone asked if, let's say a student applies for the alternative pathway and then later decide they actually want to submit a FAFSA application instead and go through the FAFSA TAP pathway, what do they do? We would recommend students emailing us at nysdream@applyisps.com to inform us that they are applying for the FAFSA TAP pathway as well. This way, we can track it to make sure there's no conflict with the processing of these two different applications. So just email us, let us know, and we'll help you and make sure that your transition is smooth. Students can, of course, change their mind and apply to the FAFSA TAP pathway. Just email us to let us know to make sure there's no issues in processing for you.
And my question here, I'm just trying to make it out. The path does not have an option for permanent residents who's a New York State graduate. Parents are out of state. I have to get back to this question to see what they're asking. If you answer that question about is there a reason why permanent residency is not an option, can you just can you reword that question back in the Q&A panel for me, please?
While we wait for that one, oh, I see the debate ended already. Okay, I'll do
That's
the
it.
next one. Okay, if a student completed a DREAM Act application and TAP application 4 months ago and there's nothing showing on HEC, should we email a DREAM Act or Priority Services? Either one is fine. Either way, students will get their answer. Again, it may be an income verification processing issue, which we're trying really hard to resolve, and hopefully that will be resolved in the next week or two, and students should be receiving emails soon to resolve that individually. But yeah, just email us and we can confirm what the issue is there. nysdream@applyisps.com, or you can always ask Priority Services if you'd like as well.
So another point we want to just hit home for some of you guys as you work with students. There is, we talk about going from Excelsior, students maybe not want to do Excelsior now, maybe not want to do the FAFSA. Um, the goal around this was to protect students' information, right? So if a student has already given that information up, they may want to consider, right, to do the FAFSA again, right? This is the way to maximize financial aid. So if you have seniors that are now going to college, that's one thing. But even then, if they have an older brother that may have gone to college a year or two ago and had to create a studentaid.gov account, and the parents have to create a studentaid.gov accounts, that information is already there, right? So to maximize, we want to be able to maximize the amount of aid that they get. They can consider doing the FAFSA, right? That's the way they get all your federal aid, your work study, your Pell, student loans if necessary. If they do the alternate pathway, there is an opportunity for state aid, but it's not more or less state aid. It's the same state aid they would get if they applied with the FAFSA, right? They're not going to get increased aid if they don't do the FAFSA. They'll get the same amount our processes don't change for that. There's no increased aid for this population. So they should really weigh their options on what's available to them and what's best for their family given their previous year's experience. That they apply already, that their siblings apply already, have their parents applied already, has their spouse applied already. If those things are already in play, they may want to look that FAFSA tap right. That's once again a decision for them and their families as they consider their options.
Right. I have a question here. Will J Treaty students be eligible under the alternative pathway program? Yes, they will. All students who are eligible for FAFSA can also apply under the alternate pathway program. And we have a specific status listed for these students.
And then to reiterate, we've gotten a question a bunch of times, and the the alternate pathway is for students, is designed for students and geared to students who are U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens, but their parents or spouse are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents, right? That is who this program is geared towards. So students that have both parents that are U.S. citizens, permanent residents, uh, there's no really advantage for those students. So once again, we would consider this pathway for those students who have parents or a spouse who is not a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen or permanent resident. Oh, a little advertisement question or a question in the chat. In preparation for college application month in 2025, is now a good time for schools to sign up before June 30th? So yes, we've actually had a lot of schools signed up. I think we've had almost, I don't know, it was almost over 100 schools already signed up for college application month. So feel free to sign up for college application month. It's going to be a good one.
I see an individual question about a student with a T visa issue, their Dreamer tapped. I recommend just emailing us at nysdream@applyisps.com. We can look at their application on an individual basis and see what the issue is and hopefully get it resolved quickly. But yeah, for any individual questions about students, just email us. We can keep all of their information private and make sure we get it resolved.
Let's see here. Oh, the actual number is 500 schools have already signed. 500? That's a lot of schools. That's a lot of schools. Let's see.
I'm going to drop the alt pathway resource guide in the chat because I mentioned it earlier. That's on the FAFSA Ready training page in the resources section, but I'll just put it for your convenience, everyone, as well. Here's all of the resources on the page currently for DREAM Act and the alternate pathway. I'll drop the link to that. We recommend looking through these. They're quick little resources definitely put together, like eligibility guides, how to change information guides, overviews of the program, things like that.
Another quick question about college application month. What is college application month? That's a good question. That is a time where we work with our partners to push college applications for students. A lot of times, some colleges will waive the application fee for that time of the year. New York City DOE does another version of this as well. So it's a great time for students to get the college applications in. We may make a push to help do that in October. So feel free to hit our website up, and we have some information there about college application month. The goal for that month for us, those dates, is to have every New York State senior apply for at least one college, right? Just one college. So we can do that. They're well on the way. When they apply, that means they're more apt to look for financial aid and things like that. So it kind of gets this process moving. And we send out resources and different things. We do events as well. We have a lot of events that in that time frame as well that our outreach team runs. So once again, feel free to hit our website and get some more information on that. So any other questions we can answer here? So some of these questions we will have to take back and see what issues are. If you have individual students, right? So I don't look up student information, so I can't tell you exactly what's happening because every student account is a little bit different. Just like you guys can't see individual things, that is reserved for other departments that I'm not in. So some of the questions may have to be a call center appointment with our call center, or email the path or priority services for assistance with that.
And I know there's probably a lot more questions that will come up after the presentation, after you've actually started assisting students with these applications, after it's time to process it. We know we can hear a lot of information today. So definitely email at the past email that Jeff dropped, and they'll direct you to the correct person, and maybe me and maybe someone else, depending on what you need help with. That's all questions, and we'll make sure we help. And thanks for helping us get this developed too.
So if you have more DreamApp questions, if you have more alt path questions, actually there's a place you can go. I'll show you right now because we recognize there's a lot of questions that you guys have, and we could really spend a day in a room together answering all your questions. I do want to stress once again the FAFSA Ready training is available where we cover a lot of these questions, especially when it comes to like DreamMath. We actually walk through the entire alternate pathway application, the entire DreamMath eligibility application, and we walk through that whole TAP application that those students will see, and then we give them like, here's what common mistakes that we see. Here's the things that students mess up on the most. Here's the thing that cause some angst the most, or cause issues. Like we go through and talk through all that during those 1 hour training sessions or 1.5 hour training sessions. So please feel free to peruse those. We also have, just to share my screen again real quick, we also have coming up a couple events that you should really think to attend. So Natasha already talked about June 2nd. That is a support session. So if you have students right now that are struggling with their Dream Act application, they're thinking about the alternate pathway and they want one-on-one help, they can get that during the support session. One thing I need to mention to all of you: if you tell a student to head to one of these sessions, and our drop-in sessions work the same way, this is one-on-one help, right? So we only have a finite amount of people that can work these events from HESC. So because this is one-on-one help, students may be in the waiting room for an extended period of time because of privacy. We can only allow one student in at a time. So tell them don't leave. Tell them make sure their microphones work. Tell them make sure they're maybe on speakerphone, because sometimes we'll have students that come in and we'll say, hello, can we help you? And it's 3 minutes of white noise. So make sure they're attentive to it, but we will get them in if they're in the meeting, right? So the DreamX portion works the same way. Just help them be patient as we get to each student that has come into the meeting. June 4th, we have a alternate pathways information session for students. So this will be a full training for students that are interested in either the Dream Act or the alternate pathway. This will give them a look at both applications and the TAP applications. Natasha and I will be running that. And then the next day, we're doing the same thing, but for financial aid professionals. So June 5th, we have this fast and ready training for these pathways where we go in depth about the actual applications. We show you screenshots. We show you everything you need to know to help get through the application and help students with it. So if there's a question that we haven't answered there, most likely we'll be answering it in these training sessions, or they're already in the FAQ section.
These events are all on our events page, by the way. If you go into the hess.ny.gov, go to help and go to the events, you'll see them all there.
Right. So please follow us on social media. We're really pushing that. If you might have seen my face on there. If you follow social media, doing some interviews with students. We do a lot of our events are published through our social media as well. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all the same name, NYS Student Aid. We also send promotional invites that you can send out to students through there as well. We do have an event page, so please, if after this recording is done, after we've done processing it, it will be available on our financial aid professionals page. So please look at that page. We have our trainings. It will be there. This presentation will be there. I think Natasha just dropped it in the chat. And find our events, right? We have a lot of events that we just talked about. To find an event, click that link that Natasha just dropped into the chat and register for one of our upcoming trainings or support sessions so we can kind of answer some more of these individual questions here.
Thank you, everyone, for all this amazing feedback. Please email us anything else that you think of that comes up. We want to, work in partnership with all of you. You guys help us make the application better for the students. So we thank you so much for telling us everything going on. You guys are on the front lines with the students. I really, really appreciate that. Please let us know any insights that you have, any issues you see, and we can work together to make this a better process for the students.
One last thing as you guys go, there is going to be a quick survey that populates right after this presentation. So please fill out that survey. Let us know if we cover some information, and it gives you an opportunity to request any additional resources or information as well. So please fill out that survey. It helps us to know exactly what you guys need going forward. And thanks again for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.